Hey everybody, I am going to get things going here with Allison and Ashley. If I can get my phone to invite them. Let's see. And now we're just going to wait for them to jump on. Hopefully they will be on here in just a minute. We are here today to talk about sleep health. Oh my gosh, you guys, literally we forget about the importance of sleep, I think, because we're so wrapped up in all of the other things, health, that is one of the crucial pieces that we often skip over. So again, I've invited my two colleagues, Ashley and Allison, and I'm just waiting for them to hop on here. But in the meantime, what I'd love for all of you that are out there that are waving, hello, hello, happy Friday! And if you want a little joy in your life, go watch my latest reel because my niece, Cora Jane, insisted that we make my dance reel together today. And it was so entertaining. So you'll have to go check that out. But in the meantime, pop in your questions about sleep, sleep health. Oh my gosh, it said Allison is unable to join. What the heck? Instagram. I'm going to try again. Allison. Y'all, this is when technology is crazy to me. So I'm going to try inviting her again. But I want you to put questions down in little comment box. You can just put those in if you have questions about sleep health, because this is where we are really going to be diving into today and talking about a number of things involved with sleep, and that, why is it important? How do we improve it? All of these burning questions that I'm sure that you have. So again, I'm just waiting for those guys to hop on here. Hey, I see you, Lily. Don't you have practice? Oh, good. It says that Ashley joined. Ashley, why aren't you joining as a collaborator? What the heck? Let's try this again. I keep inviting them. If anybody knows why they can't join. Oh, someone's coming on. Yay. Oh, good. Ashley's on. I don't know. It said Allison tried to join, but she's not able to join.
Huh. Okay,
So,
maybe she's still coming. Is she at the, I think she's at the beach, so the Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's right. Allison might be, I'm not going to feel bad if she's at the beach while we're inside and she can't join.
Yeah,
So,
seriously.
So you and I can go ahead and get started on this. I've kind of prepped everybody and told them to pop their questions down at the bottom if they have them, that we're going to be talking about sleep today and sleep health and just all things like how they can improve it. So I was trying to pull up my notes and find our little flyer to make sure that we were like on the right track. Let's see here. I know this is so bad, but I really have to, you guys, I use my notes.
No, you're fine.
I'm a note person. You a note person? Okay.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So first, why sleep is important. That's the very first thing that we want to talk about, is just simply why sleep is important. So I don't know. And we are going to talk about both adults and children today, because between Ashley and if Allison ever is able to jump on and myself, we have the age ranges from 22 all the way down to 3. Is that right? 2? I was like,
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about all of that today. If you wouldn't mind, Ashley, just sharing maybe a little bit, we're obviously going to discuss why sleep is important, but go ahead and get started, like for you, kind of what you see, what you notice in your own life, why you feel sleep is important, and we'll just start from there.
Okay, so I feel like obviously we know, like, if we don't get our sleep, we're absolutely cranky, like cranky pants. And when I was actually looking and just thinking about, okay, what should I be doing better? What do I already do? I really think, even though we are obviously adults and grown, just thinking about what I also do for my toddler, I feel like we kind of need to like treat it the same way, especially if we are struggling. That is having a consistent, bedtime routine. If you need that wind down time, maybe it's a bath, maybe it's journaling. If just having like that consistent sleep pattern, trying to not, be near your phone or the TV and all the things at least an hour before, like all the things that we do for our children. But it's like one of those things where if we're struggling with our sleep, like we need to make sure we're also doing that for us, because we also, just as much as they need their sleep or else they're, you know, crazy the next morning and hard to handle, we also struggle with our emotions, with our mood. It affects our immune system, you know, even regulating our hormones, our mental health, our skin health, all of the things. Like our body needs sleep to get that reset. So there's just so many things which you're pro, but that was just when I, you know, when I was actually thinking about this too before we hopped on. I'm like, okay, that's how I feel like, just even though we're adults, like we really need to handle it the same way and treat it, you know, how we do even our kids, because we need the
And
sleep
I'm so
too.
glad that you touched on, you went from everywhere from,
Yeah.
what did you say? Cranky pants or something like that, that we wake up and we're cranky pants. 100%. People, I am like a toddler if I do not sleep.
Right.
Like I fully admit it. Sleep is very important, but all the way from, you know, and some people are like, well, big deal, like suck it up, get better. No, it affects your hormones. It affects your brain performance, your cognitive performance. It affects your mood, and things as detrimental as it raises your risk of a whole slew of diseases. If you are a poor sleeper over the course of time, it raises your risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, obesity. Those, like, we should not be messing around, you know. And you and I are lucky enough that we work in an industry where we do try to focus on multifaceted, and I know that you coach in the same way that I do, in a very holistic way. We're not just here to focus on, you know, fat loss or your body fat percentage, that we really approach this as wellness and quality of life. And sleep is critical. You guys, lack of sleep can cause hallucinogenic images and even death. You know, we think, oh, you could starve to death, you could do that. You can die from lack of sleep. Like, that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Go look up the studies. There are lots of actual legit studies about that. So yeah, people are chiming in saying cranky pants household. 100%. So why is sleep important? So we could make a statement. Why is sleep important? You could die if you don't get sleep. Literally, it's not because of just that instant, but you long term, your health is compromised pretty seriously. So, what factors influence sleep? Well, you named a whole bunch of them too. I think, you know, you said your routine. We talk about routines all the time with our kids, like you said, and we totally throw them out the door for ourselves as adults.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like I know it's a common thing, especially for like mamas that I work with. It's like we finally get the kids down to bed, and then we want so much that me time if we didn't get it in the day, that it's like, okay, let's go. Maybe we want to watch a show. Maybe there might be like, you know, some snacking. Oh, there's so many different things, but we end up staying up a lot later. And then it's just like this kind of this vicious cycle of like then being, you know, not so happy the next day. And then it's like we kind of do it again, because then we're upset, we're grumpy, put the kids to bed, and it's like, okay, now I need my me time again. So I definitely think that's, you know, something that we can also talk about, is making sure, well, I use exercise and daily movement as like my me time, so that I don't do that and fall into that habit at night with staying up late. But it's one of those things. Like I was even reading, they're saying, you know, even on the weekends, try to keep your same sleep routine. And I know that can be hard. I know that can be hard. We do it for our kids, but ultimately it is what's best for our health, especially for people who do struggle with their sleep. If you can, you know, try to stay consistent with that sleep routine, because it's absolutely
agreed.
what your body needs.
And I mean, again, just apply the things. If you have kids, grandkids, niece, nephew that you've ever had to practice a sleep routine with, do the same thing for yourself. I mean, that's basically what you're saying, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting too. There are small tricks that we can do in addition to, I think, bedtime routines and a consistent sleep schedule, and like you said, on weekends. But it's sometimes comes down to your actual sleeping, like your bedroom, and like what is happening there. Are you laying in bed and falling asleep to the TV? I'm here to tell you that is not a good choice. Right? So ensuring that sleep environment is quiet, it's comfortable, it's kind of cool. The human body likes to be cool, not hot, because it'll keep waking you up. And if you notice that you're a person that needs complete silence, make it happen. Maybe you need to invest in earplugs. Maybe you need to figure out. I've seen these crazy they look like a headband. Have you seen these, Ashley? So it's like a headband so that it can wrap
No.
all the way around your head, but it's playing like music, like waves. And it's like a headband, so you can sleep in it.
Okay. That's
I'm like,
neat.
really seriously, every time I get it, it's total clickbait for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I need that. Maybe I need this crazy headband. But you know, that idea that you need to have those things, or if you know that you need a certain pillow or whatever, don't be afraid to be that diva and like pack it and take it with
Right.
you, because that sleep, those things in your environment, I think
Yeah.
are just as important. So yeah. And
Yeah. So like for me, I use a white noise maker for even me, because I got so accustomed to it, you know, with my daughter, that when we co-sleep, so I got so accustomed to it that even as she's got a little bit older, I love it. And that's what I need to, I turn it on and I use that for myself. So that's one of the things. I know it's similar to
yeah.
like the headband that you're talking about, but I use the
I mean,
little
as humans,
sleep.
we do
Yeah.
get used to like whatever's happening in your environment at home. And so you should try to translate that too when you travel. But if you think about babies, you know, babies love the sound of the heartbeat because that's what they hear in the womb. As a human, you know, we were all a baby at some point. And so that consistent rhythm of something often helps us to fall asleep. What are your thoughts on, and I so wish Allison was on here too, because I know that her and I have talked about caffeine and caffeine consumption and like how it affects your sleep, the time of day. You know, let's just discuss caffeine. What are your thoughts? How does it affect you? Like she's like,
Okay, I'm probably the worst person to ask, because I love caffeine. I do, but I drink it in the morning. I won't drink anything like after 3. I even try to keep it before noon. I even like to do my workouts earlier, like only because I notice if I train in the evenings, it's harder for me to go to sleep. So I do caffeine and, you know, my workout time in the morning, just to make sure that it doesn't mess with
okay.
anything with my
You
sleep.
know, it's interesting because some people will say, oh, I can have caffeine right before I go to bed. And I would love to know what their studies, like if that person, if you are one of those people and you're on this and watching this, please comment as to whether or not you have a device that tracks your sleep and the quality of your sleep. Because people also love to talk about drinking, how a glass of wine helps them sleep. Science shows that that's actually not true. You may fall asleep because you're sleepy, but your sleep is actually very disruptive, and you probably aren't getting REM sleep, the really, really important, like restful sleep. So it's actually a myth, this whole idea that alcohol helps you sleep better, because your quality of your sleep was probably trash. So I would be interested to know, for the people who do consume caffeine later in the day, because they don't notice the effects, if they've ever tracked their sleep and what it looks like. I'm not one of those people. I am a naturally caffeinated person by nature. My switch turns on in the morning, I'm on level 10. And then at night it goes off. So if I have caffeine, it would need to be a very limited dose. And when I say limited, I'm talking like 100 milligrams would probably be plenty, and early in the day, because I know myself and I would not sleep.
Right.
I've definitely had like a coffee before, like at 11 in the morning, and could not sleep that night. But because I very rarely consume it, I'm highly affected by it. I know Allison is a caffeine drinker. She's just going to have to pop in the notes later, because I tried to invite her again. So
I
that's
know.
all right. We're going to.
So, and going back to what
I was just going to say, she'll
ahead.
have to just get back to us later.
Going back, yeah, And going back to what you were saying, so that's interesting. But it would also be with eating like
Okay.
too late in the night, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
necessarily get in your REM sleep, because I was had kind of read up on that too, and I thought that that was interesting because I've heard so much about like people wanting to go to bed on a full belly so that they get better sleep. However, like when you actually look into it, I
Yeah.
believe, and maybe you can help me with that, but I believe that it's actually opposite. You're not able to like get into
Yeah.
that REM sleep either. So same thing with like a glass
Yeah.
of wine
It's that
eating.
idea. It is.
Right.
It's similar in the sense that your body is busy doing something else. So then it's going to keep you up. Having a very heavy meal close to bedtime is not advised. Having something very simple, and when I say simple, I mean a natural carbohydrate. Like if you're really like just dying before bedtime, like so hungry or feel like you can't fall asleep because you are so hungry, having something that is a
Right.
whole food that's a carb will actually help you to fall asleep even. Carbohydrates a lot of the time make you feel sleepy. So rather than eating your carbs in the morning for breakfast, it's great to eat them at night to help you sleep. It's a little trick. It's a little trick too. But having any heavy meals like
Yeah.
that, your body's going to be like trying to digest, and then it's probably going to set a different rhythm throughout the night. So you're right, it can disrupt that. So definitely something that I would encourage people, and I encourage my people to avoid, is having a big meal and trying to be full when they go to bed. It's okay to be a little hungry,
Right.
just a little. Probably gonna have
Right.
better quality sleep.
Right. I wish. Yeah, I wish I would have known this when I was like competing and all the things, because I told one of my coaches, and this is years ago, so I can talk about it. And he put me on 3 ounces of avocado. My body didn't want fat
Yeah,
to sleep. My body for sure probably wanted carbs because
carbs
I
for
still,
sure, for sure.
yeah.
So let's kind of shift gears now and start talking about like how can we work, what are things we can do specifically maybe to improve our sleep. I'll start with one because you just took a drink of water. Being hydrated, being
Okay.
hydrated helps you sleep,
Right.
and not trying to like chug 50 ounces before you go to bed. That's not where you want to choose to be like, suddenly I'm going to hydrate, because then you're obviously going to be up a million times in the night.
Yeah.
So that's one that I always encourage my people, is to be hydrated and to hydrate throughout the day. You will sleep better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Daily movement. I would say I love to read before bed, so it's a way of me like detaching from the phone and or the TV. Reading, it might just come naturally because I obviously have like story time with my daughter too to put her to bed, but then I'll continue with reading. Even sometimes a hot bath is great. Like those are, I would say, my main things when it comes to just getting that good sleep. Sometimes an Epsom salt bath, reading, and just that daily movement. If I notice, if I go a few days without exercise, my sleep is highly affected. I just, there's so many ways, obviously, we're affected by not moving our body, but I do notice like that's a big one
So again,
for
for
sure.
those of you who are just popping on here, because I see new people coming on, we're talking about the importance of sleep, how sleeping better helps you to live better. So I just want to tell you that if you're on here and you have questions, please don't hesitate to put those in the comments down below, because we want to make sure that we address those. So the other thing I think that is really interesting is, again, if we go back to us trying to, listen to the cues in our body, I think so often today's lifestyle, having a phone constantly, having the TV on constantly, we tend to ignore sleep cues, like, oh, I'm getting sleepy, but we're so overstimulated. So let's talk specifically, because you kind of have both ends of the spectrum. You have a very young child and then you have a teenager. How are you setting up sleep routines for them? How are you establishing, you know, good sleep habits with them? What's worked well, what's been not so great?
Yeah. Well, I will say my teenager is a little bit harder, to like with the sleep schedule and like this and that. But luckily he is in sports and he does have to get up around 5:30 a.m. So he knows like if he doesn't go to bed when he should, then obviously he won't perform well. But with my daughter, I feel like just staying on that consistent routine of dinner time, bath time, and then bedtime, which what is, I would say our struggle with being business owners is she wants to say goodnight to dad at night, and dad doesn't get home till about 9 p.m. So people with different schedules, that I totally understand. So we try to get it all done, but then where she can say goodnight and then actually go to bed. She is a early riser. A 6 a.m. riser, like it doesn't matter. She's up at 6. And so, and then she also has a nap time, because it's just one of those things where 9 p.m. and then if you do the math till, she's up at 6 a.m., she definitely has to also get that nap time in. And so then for my son, like I said, he'll try to go to bed 8:39, which I feel like is early for a teenager, but he also has to get
What
up
about
early.
you? What does your sleep schedule look like? Look, she's like, I don't want to tell.
No, I actually, and you can ask my husband about this because sometimes he wants me to stay up later, but I am one of those people, and all my family too, like when it comes to just like, I'm the person that would like sneak away and go to bed. Like I do enjoy my sleep and I will sneak away and go to sleep. So with me, I try to go to bed within, an hour after my daughter going to sleep. And I was actually thinking about this because she's going to be starting pre-K soon. And so her actual sleep schedule is going to change with needing to go to bed earlier because she has to wake up earlier. And so she's going to start in 2 weeks. And I was kind of thinking about and just reading up on it too, like how long does it actually take the body to adjust to, a little bit different of sleep schedule. And it said 1 to 2 weeks. And so I'm like, all right, we got to actually start next week at least with trying to, I know now with waking up or going to bed 30 minutes earlier because we're going to have to wake up 30 minutes earlier just to, get ready. Yeah.
We talked about that. We talked about the idea of like changing your schedule, and you said 2 weeks. There's also the whole thing as adults, again, we've got to get ourselves on the sleep schedule. I'm right with you, Ashley. I would love to go to bed every night, like promptly at like 9:30 at the latest. My body is sleepy. It's ready. My cognitive function is low. I've always been that way. I joked a million years ago in my first career when I was a teacher and I was teaching high school and I would be grading papers. I never should ever grade papers after like 7:30 p.m. because I would make so many errors, like truly make errors. Like my brain was like, we're done. What do you not understand? So for me, it was about setting that schedule and giving myself permission to do that. And I have to check out with my family sometimes too, because I'm just like, I'm sorry, but no one will like me tomorrow if I don't go to bed. So we need to listen to our bodies and actually make those things happen. So that whole idea is, again, we want to sleep better so we can live better, you guys. Remember, this isn't just like, joking, like, you need to sleep. We are talking about cognitive function. We're talking about your risk for heart disease, your risk for stroke, your risk for obesity, your risk for dementia. Those things are, increased when you have poor sleep over and over again. So trying to establish those things are pretty important. And I know that, it's one thing for us to like put all this stuff out there. There are also a lot of like natural things. You said a hot bath. My dad would always be like, drink a glass of hot milk. I don't know so much about the hot milk, but tea. There are a lot of teas that have very natural. They have this amino acid called L-theanine in it, which naturally relaxes your body. So having a cup of tea before bed can physically help to relax your body, in addition to those other things we were talking about in your sleep routine. Are you a tea drinker?
Yeah. No, I love
Same.
I'm a tea drinker.
Same.
I love that. Yep. Yeah. It replaced the, once in a while glass of wine at night because I realized that was not, happening. And I am a consistent tea drinker.
Yeah. And there's so many flavors, you guys. If you're like, I'm not a tea drinker, go try. You've got about 147 flavors minimum to try before you can say, I'm not a tea drinker.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Seriously.
There's so many. I actually I love tea. And so when I travel, I pack it and take it with me. And one time I didn't realize, like, I just was like packing it and I'm like, they're leaves. I mean, I had actual tea leaves. And I traveled to an Asian country and you're not allowed to bring flora and fauna in. And they were like tearing my bag apart. And I was like, what is happening? And they're like, ma'am, you have this contraband. And it was my tea. And they had to take my tea. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll buy more. I'll buy more. But I was like, I just need sleep. I'm going to be jet lagged. So anyway, so we talked about L-theanine. Yeah. There are, I do want to, I think we can't not talk about Sleep Health, which is an actual product I use. I don't know, Ashley, if you have looked at that product at all or you use it yourself.
I haven't tried it, but I've heard great things.
L-theanine is in this, as well as GABA, which is often called GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, which is another complex in our body that sometimes, you know, doesn't produce as much as it should in some people who are, you know, geared really high. So what it does though is it inhibits neurotransmission. So what does that mean? It means that it's going to lessen the number of signals sent out. Like, hey, when you have a really busy brain at night, it's probably because your GABA is not kicked in and like saying, okay, it's time to shut down. We don't need to be thinking about the 104 things you've got going on the rest of the week. So there are a lot of supplements that contain GABA, and you just need to find, you know, high quality ones that are third party tested, if you can, ones that are science backed. But GABA helps to kind of dampen that chemical, you know, message that's always going out and calm everything down. So it's blocking some of those signals in your central nervous system so that you stop thinking so much. So that, in addition to L-theanine, is often a great combo to help people kind of calm their nervous system to help them fall asleep. So that's often what you'll see in some supplements, as well as sometimes it'll have like lemon in it or even chamomile, which you can get in tea, lemon tea, chamomile tea. So those are things that you can add to your routine as well. I actually use our Sleep Health product, and I've used GABA Complex. It has GABA in it over a number of years, just due to the amount of travel that I was doing, like to China, to South Korea, you know, places that I had a 12-hour time difference. So night was day and day was night. And I needed to be able to adjust quickly to a new sleep schedule. We know that takes 2 weeks. And I would get there and I would have one day, and then I would have to get up and do a 10-hour workday. So certainly, you know, looking into those things and looking into, you know, the key thing I think that's crucial though is also, we have to remember that it's a combination of all these things, of living a healthy life. Like you and I truly do believe you got to put the routines into place. You got to put forth those little pieces of effort. You got to try and eliminate looking at your phone. Stop looking at your phone in bed. And then consider, I know, right? Watching Ashley's reels at night. Oh my God, I love that one.
Get up, TikTok.
Oh, I'm guilty of that. I'm definitely guilty of that. So again, if you guys are watching this and you have questions later, please don't hesitate to pop those into the Instagram feed, because we'll be going back and answering those. As always, I appreciate your knowledge, Ashley. We're sad, but also not sad if Allison is at the beach, and that's why she can't join us. But she'll be back. She'll be back next week. And this is our new time. This is our new time for our IG lives on Fridays, because the ladies have their little ones going back to school. So we wanted to adjust it a little bit so that everybody can get back on these next week. So do you have any parting thoughts?
No. To all my mamas out there though, where kids are starting school and all the things, let's get them on that schedule. Try to start early if you can. I'm with you. I'm going to be starting early with Jade too. And happy Friday. And thank you, Laura. I appreciate you too and all your knowledge. These lives are so
Yeah,
amazing. I love
cool.
doing them with
High
you.
fives. All right, happy Friday, everybody. Bye.
All right.